everyone, and thank you for joining me. I want to show you a little bit today about neck pain. This is something that's very hard for a lot of people to deal with, especially if you're working all day and it starts to get to you and you get kind of all decongested up or congested and you can't move. So what we're going to do is loosen things up, and we're also going to try to make a postural change. So I'm going to ask that this won't be more than 3 exercises, but I want you to experience the kind of change that you can make physically only with 3 exercises. First thing is, I want you to stand up straight and take off your shoes. If you have shoes on when you do this, you will not really feel what's going to change. And the first thing you're going to do is you're going to put your feet down and try to make sure that they're facing forward and you don't have one ahead of the other. Now, if you happen to look down and notice that one was turned out like that, that's a good indicator of an imbalance, but we want to be straight ahead. Maybe hip width apart. I put my hand down here. Women tend to think their hips are really wide, but they're not. So we usually have more narrow hips than we think. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pay attention to our left foot. Where's the weight on that foot? Is it on your toe, the ball of your foot, the heel, the inside, or the outside? Just make a mental note. Now, the right side of the foot, the toe, ball of the foot, the heel, the inside, or outside. Now, do you notice whether or not you feel like you have more pressure on the floor on one foot or the other? So just kind of take notice. I'm going to do a quick inventory of myself, and everything feels kind of even right now, which is can happen. I do these postural exercises every day, so I haven't done mine yet, but sometimes I start out even, other times I don't. So the first thing that we're going to do, you've made a mental note of how your feet felt, is we're going to look to loosen up the shoulders, which drives the neck pain. And if you read my article in my newsletter, I talked about forward head posture and what it does. And when we're leaning forward like this, you can see there's a lot of weight coming off the front of my body. But look at my shoulders. In order for my shoulders to do that, they're very rounded forward. And you see my hands are actually facing the camera, the outside of the hand. Where should they be? They should be facing the palm of the hand should be facing the outside of the thigh. Then we know we're in good shoulder position. So let's go ahead and try some of these exercises out and see if we can make a change down on those feet, because the feet have told us whether or not our posture is in balance. And if you notice there's differences from right to left, that's fine. If you don't end up perfect at the end, but you made a change towards being better, then it was a success. So what you're going to do is you're going to put your feet hip width apart, about the size of your fist, like that. Now, I'm going to recommend for those, because this is about neck and shoulder pain, I'm going to recommend that you go against a wall. You're going to put your heels against the baseboard, and you want to place your body against the wall. Now, some of you are going to say, oh, my back end is too big. I can't get against the wall. Don't worry about that. It may not be that's the real issue. It could be that you're just more rolled forward. Ideally, we'd like to have the heels, the glutes, the shoulders against the wall, and of course the head and neck. But some of you are not going to be comfortable head and neck. You're actually going to have the chin up. In order to get that neck on the wall, your chin will have to be up. We don't want to do that because that's not a proper position. So if you're not able to get your head against the wall, don't worry about it. Just do the best you can. Now, the first thing we're going to do while they're against the wall, I'll come away from the wall for the sake of demonstration. You're going to put your feet hip width apart. You're going to keep your palms facing the outside of your thigh. And without using your elbows or your hands, I want you to roll those shoulders forward. And you'll see that it's not a big move. I'm not flopping my arms around like that. I'm just moving my shoulders forward. We're going to move them forward, roll them forward 20 times. Work at your own pace. Now, let's say that this is very uncomfortable. You're not ready for 20. That's fine. If you get 5, it's 5 more than you did yesterday. So you're going to be against the wall like this as you do your 20 forward. And you'll still have plenty of room to move those shoulders. And you just want to move the shoulder blade itself. Then when you hit your 20 going forward, then we're going to go 20 backwards. Now, when you go into correct posture, and that's why I like to use the wall, because the wall works as a cueing mechanism to remind the body where it's supposed to be, not where it decided to go. You may find when you feel the work, you can feel it in the shoulders. You may hear snap, crackle, and pop in those shoulders. Don't get upset about it. It just probably hasn't moved for a while, or you've got some tissue that's been laid down in order to stabilize you. Another thing too is by keeping yourself against that wall when it's cueing you, you can feel what's going on. Maybe you notice your right shoulder hits the wall, but your left one doesn't. That's another indicator that there may be some imbalances. So when you finish your 20, now what we're going to do is elbow curls. That was standing shoulder rolls. Now we're going to do elbow curls. This is going to be a little bit tougher exercise. It's not that easy. And when you do it, I like to do it against the wall again because it does cue you to be in proper position. If you're not comfortable and you have to put your chin up, remember what I told you, just look straight ahead. Don't look over here or over here because that's going to change the result. You're changing the stimulus, which changes the result. So you're going to take your hands and you're going to put them into a grip. I call this a hitchhiker. You know, I'm Haight-Ashbury Day, so hitchhiker, like so. We're going to take our hands, we're going to put them into this fist with the thumbs up, only we're going to turn the thumbs down and we're going to put our knuckles. I like to put my second and third knuckle into my temple with my thumbs pointing down. Now we're going to go back against that wall, hip width apart. And when you do this, you may feel work. You may feel it in the shoulder. You could feel some pulling in the neck. You may feel something down here in the front of the chest. You could feel things in the mid back and the low back. Some of us who have an issue with range of motion in our pelvis will a lot of times feel it in the low back. I happen to be one of those folks. So we're going to put those knuckles parallel to the side of your head into the temples, and we're going to go in and out. Now you see, I'm trying to pull my elbows together, but as you can see, I'll stand in front of the camera now so you can see me better. I'm not really moving them that far. So you're going to do 25 of those. It's okay if they don't move that far. What you want to work on is getting more range of motion, and that could change day to day. If you've done a lot of work with the upper body, like I bench pressed earlier today, so I'm much tighter in here. So it's a little tighter to pull those shoulder blades together. But nonetheless, remember, you want it even. You want to try to go towards the wall. If you're too tight, it's okay. Just do the best you can. You want to get movement. And I also want you to pay attention to which side is maybe not working as well as the other. Maybe one is stiffer. It's hard to get towards the wall. Keep going. You want to hit 25. I'll be in front of you so I can demonstrate, and you keep going to 25. Unless, of course, you can't make it to 25, which is fine. You could break it up to 12 and 12. The bottom line is to move. When you are having a lot of restriction here, that's happening back in that shoulder blade. And we've all heard of frozen shoulder, that type of condition. These are things that you don't have to accept. You can actually get yourself out of that by learning to move again. It won't happen overnight, but it will happen. So after you finish your 25, then you're going to drop your hands down. And now we're going to do arm circles. And when we do those, we're going to make that fist again. And we want to make it tight because we really want to contract the muscles in the forearm. We're going to put our arms out, straight out, lock out those elbows. Your feet, again, are hip width apart, no wider than that, straight ahead. You don't want one higher than the other. And you're going to face your palms down, pull your shoulder blades together, and you're going to roll forward, just like this, keeping those elbows locked out. We're going to go for 40 forward. Now, if you get tired, which can happen, you may also notice that you're getting some aching. Go ahead and keep going unless you're too tired. You may get some aching in the shoulders like that. That has nothing to do with whether or not you're a weak person. I've seen elite athletes get tired from that move. It's just an area that's not used to being worked. So go ahead and finish. You're pulling the shoulder blades together. The key to this is locking out the elbows and pulling those shoulder blades together. So when you've finished your 40, you should be about done. Drop down, and this time what we're going to do, we're going to do the same grip with the hand, but we're going to turn our palms up towards the ceiling. So this is going to be a little different. Now, what I will want to bring your attention to, if you have trouble facing the ceiling with your palms, and you can only say go this far as opposed to completely face up with the palm, then you've got some restrictions in those shoulders. So this is something you want to work towards creating more range of motion. It's not coming from the elbow, it is coming from the shoulder. And common things that I see at work with shoulder issues, trigger finger, carpal tunnel, tennis elbow, all of that is really stimulated by poor movement in the shoulder girdle. So let's go palms up, make that fist, lock out those elbows, feet hip width apart, and you are going to pull the shoulder blades together and do 40 of these, 40 backwards. You can go fairly fast, but the key is to keep those shoulder blades together and those elbows locked out. Should be about halfway through. You'll feel a lot of work in that neck as well as the shoulder. You may feel some in the low back too. That's not uncommon because the shoulders are married to the hips. So what happens to those hips happens to the opposite shoulder. Keep going till you hit 40. Okay, now you're done. Now what we're going to do is we're going to do what I call rebooting the system. If you ever come into work or I work with you on Zoom, I'll ask you to move around after exercises. And what we're doing with that is we're trying to get the body to acknowledge that something has changed. And so that way we see the change after we've started moving around. So what we're going to do is we're going to march in place in opposite hand and leg. And what this does is it reboots the nervous system. It also gets us moving. Since we're not going to walk around a room, you're more than welcome to walk around a room. But I don't have that much to walk around in because I'm actually in my living room and I need to stay in front of the camera. So we're going to do about 20 or 30 of these, marching in place, opposite hand to leg. Now, if you're someone that noticed that you went right, say right leg, right arm, instead of opposite, then I know if you came in to see me that something had interrupted that gait at some point in time. Maybe you fell and hurt an ankle, you broke an arm, something like that. So that's always interesting. Or it may have had to do with how you learned to walk as a child. So when we're done, let's go ahead and check those feet. And now we're going to start with the left foot, the toes, the ball of the foot, the heel, the inside of the foot, the outside. Now the right toes, ball of the foot, heel inside or outside. You should notice a difference. Even if it's not perfectly balanced, which is what we like to feel, balance between the ball of the foot and the heel. Maybe you notice that one side has more pressure on the heel than the ball of the foot, but you should notice a change, and it will be closer to normal than when we started. Another thing too that I commonly hear from people after doing exercises like that is that they feel taller. And that's how I'm feeling right now, is I feel like I'm a little bit taller. So if you have any questions or you want to learn more about yourself and what you can do to help yourself, you can message me through this site, or you can go to my website, carolynvanslo.com, and shoot me an email. So let me know how this goes for you. This is good stuff, and it's just a little tiny morsel of what's available in postural therapy. So have a great day and get rid of